All right, for weeks now, we have taken a closer look at unconscious bias, implicit biases or judgments that influence decisions that we make in everything you or I do in business, education, healthcare, and even the products that we buy or sell. Which brings us to this movement for social justice, sweeping the country, leading some big corporations to rethink some of their branding and marketing. Just this week, PepsiCo announced it's doing away with Aunt Jemima. The brand originated in 1889, which also has a history of racist stereotyping.
Happy Aunt Jemima, famous for her secret recipe pancakes, waffles, and buckwheat. What's a good word, Aunt Jemima?
Well, Mr. Lion, folks says there's nothing so pretty as a happy face and nothing so worthwhile as a happy life.
Now, there's been an evolution of Aunt Jemima, the picture, but as Black Lives Matter protests sweep the globe, other companies are reevaluating products such as Uncle Ben's, Mrs. Butterworth's, and Cream of Wheat, all in an effort to make progress toward racial equality. So, how did we get here? And why has it taken so long for there to be this kind of reckoning of racist branding? David Pilgrim is the founder and director of the Jim Crow Museum, and he's also the author of several books, including his most recent, Haste to Rise, a remarkable experience of black education during Jim Crow, which he co-authored. So good to see you, David.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I relish the opportunity, any opportunity, to talk about the work that we do at the Jim Crow Museum.
Well, fantastic. I know this has been your life's work too. So, so tell me, David, how big of a deal is this to remove or change offensive branding?
Well, let me start by saying that the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University, we bring in people, and Aunt Jemima, that represents a very small part of our collection, but a significant part of our collection. We have thousands of pieces, and we've been trying to get people for years to have engaged, difficult, even sometimes painful discussions. So to answer your question, I think it's huge. I was pleasantly surprised. Probably the only thing that would surprise me more would be if the professional football team in our nation's capital decided to have those same kinds of difficult conversations and come up with a similar result.
Now, you're talking about the NFL team representing Washington, and the name of the Redskins has been central to a lot of discussions and debate for a long time. So can I also ask you, are the removals of the Native American on Land O'Lakes, Uncle Ben's, Mrs. Butterworth, black depictions, representations of America, are these representations that America is ready to now act, the removing of these images?
Well, I think so. In your prelude or your introduction, you set it up very nicely. The fact of the matter is that this current social justice movement, which was set off by the horrific murder of George Floyd, has forced all of us to engage in deeper conversations about the role of racism in our society and in ourselves. And so I'm not going to impugn the motives, as some of my colleagues have done, suggesting that these companies are doing this because they look at a changed demographic or because they want to be on the right side of history. I don't want to get it twisted. I am appreciative of the fact that they have made what I believe to be are significant cultural statements. The fact of the matter is, in the U.S., we like happy history. We like history that makes us feel good, that we can have parades about and use in smart conversations. But if we're going to be a mature nation, we have to be able to look at the past and the ways that it morphs into the present. And so if you're a company and your brand has a racial slur in the name, if it is itself a racial slur, or if it caricatures people, reduces them to one-dimensional caricatures, then you should be having conversations about rebranding.
So then, David, help people understand, how, your display, this Jim Crow Museum, came to be. I mean, anyone can go on a virtual tour right now and see the collections, and we're looking at some of it right now that you had. And you, when you came up with this idea and erected this museum back in 2012, right? You had some anticipation that particularly people of color were not going to like this. But you said, in fact, it has brought and elicited an opposite response.
Yeah, that was a real concern of mine. And I'm very grateful to Ferris State University. I don't think you could build the Jim Crow Museum at most universities. And by the way, I believe there should be a Jim Crow Museum in all 50 states. So what I wanted to do is to create a space where people would do the thing that they seem less willing or least willing to do, which is to have important discussions about race relations, and racism. And I thought, and I learned this, I went to Jarvis Christian College, and I had professors who used objects to teach. Their objects weren't as contemptible as the ones that I use, but they used objects to teach. And it kind of reminds me of, I don't quote H. Ross Perot a lot, but the quote that he has that says, the activist is not the man who says the river is dirty, but the man who cleans the river. Not everybody likes the way we do it, but our pant legs are wet. And what I encourage other people to do, if you don't like, if our way is too direct, if confrontational, if it's too much in your face, find a way that you can help create a more just society.
And so you have done this by using these, what many consider, offensive depictions as learning tools. And so you're helping to teach people a lot through this museum and through your dialogue. David Pilgrim, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.